Trump has been suspended from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even Snapchat. But don't worry, Mr. President, there are still plenty of apps you do have access to. You still have Spotify. You still have Pet Finder since you're on the outs with Mike Pence. You have Cameo, which will soon be your primary source of income. Not only did Trump get banned from Twitter, Google, Apple, and Amazon removed the Parler app from their platforms. And no one was more upset about Parler going away than a sneaky little congressman named Devin.
I have 3 million followers on Parler. Tonight, I will no longer be able to communicate with those people.
Why does Devin Nunes always look like somebody knocked his ice cream out of his hand?
I don't know, Jim. Why do you always look like you're looking at your wiener through a microscope? Why does your face always show an angry expression like you're upset because the magnifying glass isn't working properly? How come every time I see Jim Kimmel, he's always spreading misery? The clip I just showed you, that was from 4, maybe 5 years ago. It was around the time that Donald Trump was being banned from damn near every social media platform. It was when Donald Trump was literally having his voice silenced by big tech platforms, who more than likely were being heavily pressured, heavily influenced by our former fearless leader, Johnny B. Biden. Jim Kimmel was celebrating when the Trumper was being silenced. But when he was temporarily fired by ABC for being a huge embarrassing failure, when Jim was temporarily fired after years and years of huge embarrassing failure, instead of celebrating his temporary silence, Jim Kimmel was stoic. He was depressed. He played the role of the ultimate victim. He blamed Donald Trump for supposedly pressuring ABC to silence him. But 4 years before, Jim Kimmel was celebrating Donald Trump being silenced. Someone please make it make sense. Speaking of huge embarrassing failure, I opened voting yesterday for the 3rd annual Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards, which will take place later this month. The link to the poll to cast your vote is in the description below. The link is also available in the community tab of the channel homepage here on YouTube. Although Jim Kimmel was emotionally depressed 3 months ago when he was fired by the non-binary mouse at Disney, or as Jim prefers to call it, they. Although Jim was depressed after being fired, he was in a very celebratory mood last night. Headline at Variety: Jimmy Kimmel extends late night deal with Disney. Good news, kids! Daddy has another guaranteed year of woke welfare. Celebrate the Bud Bungo! Woohoo! Yes, yes, yes! All kidding aside, good for Jimmy Kimmel. He has one more year of making $15 million. But when I saw the headlines last night, my first question was why? Now, I understand why Jim Kimmel would agree to this deal. No one is going to turn down $15 million a year when your only expectation is ratings failure. I don't blame Jim Kimmel for taking the deal, but I'm wondering why ABC would do this. I'm wondering why ABC would offer another long-term commitment to Jimmy Kimmel. But then I read the full details of the extension. This is not a long-term commitment from ABC. This extension is not a sign that the network has full confidence in Jim Kimmel. All ABC is doing is appeasing their pretend friends in the woke media while, I think, delaying the inevitable. They are giving Jim Kimmel one more year until he gets fired. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. It's going into the sponsor for today's video, my good friends at Drop It Wine. Now, I quit drinking 18 or so months ago, but every once in a while, I'll want to have a glass of wine with dinner or have a drink or two at happy hour with my friends. Damn near every time I do, I get an instant headache after one glass of wine. Hell, sometimes all it takes half a glass. I thought this was my body not being used to the alcohol. However, it could be caused by preservatives in the wine, and that's where Drop It Wine steps in. Drop It Wine is the ultimate solution to your wine sensitivities from sulfites and tannins. All you do, put 1 or 2 drops of Drop It Wine in your glass of wine, and you no longer have to worry about the pending headache or the rosy cheeks. Drops from Drop It Wine do not change the taste of your drink. Matter of fact, it makes astringent reds taste smoother. Drop It Wine has been independently tested and verified by an American-based wine laboratory in Napa Valley. And Drop It Wine is also made right here in America. This would make the perfect stocking stuffer for Christmas or as an accessory to any wine that you're giving someone as a gift. So click the link in the description below. Use my promo code BTL20, BTL20. Receive 20% off your first purchase with Drop It Wine. Last night, it was announced that Jim Kimmel had reached an agreement with ABC. Originally, Jim and his bestie Stevie Colbert, they were going to enter unemployment together. Over the summer, CBS announced that they were firing Stevie Colbert in May of 2026. Well, Casey, why are they waiting until May? Why didn't they just fire him immediately? Yeah, I'm sure local CBS affiliates are wondering the same thing. Affiliates in Laredo, Texas, they would probably draw a bigger audience with reruns of Bonanza or one of those other doofus westerns that boomers like to watch. I have no idea why CBS gave Stephen Colbert a 9-month notice. They damn sure saved millions of dollars if they shut his late night dump down immediately. But either way, Stevie is counting down the days to unemployment. Originally, his bestie, Jim Kimmel, promised to join him. They were going to hold hands in the unemployment line and sing songs as they waited for their check. I love you, you love me, let's role play our fantasies. We'll both hold hands while unleashing our tears, and I'll tickle Stevie's face with my beard. Unfortunately for Stevie, he's going to be singing All Alone next May. He'll be holding his own hands because ABC has agreed to continue donating woke welfare to Jim Kimmel for an additional year. The question again is why? Like we have discussed before, Stephen Colbert is losing CBS or costing CBS $40 million a year in losses. Outside of Greg Gutfeld, who is the king of late night television, outside of Gregory, Stephen Colbert is the most watched late night dump. If he's losing $40 million a year at CBS, at minimum, Jim Kimmel's got to be losing the same at ABC or probably more. So why would they offer him an extension? Why would they throw $40 million additional dollars into the flaming ass fire? I can only speculate, but I think ABC could be caving to the potential backlash they would receive if they fired Jim Kimmel again. For starters, these contracts are usually 3 years in length. It's not very often that you see year-to-year extensions, which makes sense, right? Both sides want stability. Both sides want a long-term commitment. But with this contract, either ABC or Jim Kimmel, or maybe both sides, they only agreed to a 1-year extension. As a company, Disney is allergic to controversy. They're allergic to negative publicity. I think ABC was potentially concerned about the potential backlash if they fired Jim Kimmel or just let him go in May. When he was fired back in September, ABC affiliates were being threatened. If I remember correctly, I want to say there was an affiliate, I want to say it was in Sacramento, that heard gunshots outside of their studio, ABC was crucified by their pretend friends in the mainstream media for firing Jim Kimmel back in September. How dare you fire Jim Kimmel? He might not draw ratings on television, but Jim is a loyal comrade, and he's extremely popular on Grindr, where his views are over the moon. If they let him walk in May, they would once again be accused of caving to Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump would have absolutely nothing to do with it. From a financial perspective, I understand why Jim Kimmel agreed to another year, but from a personal, for lack of a better word, from a personal perspective, it's a questionable decision. Last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, it was reported that Jim Kimmel was crumbling emotionally. He'd lost one of his best friends who died unexpectedly. It was reported that the pressure of late-night television, especially with the entire genre being on life support, it was reported that the constant pressure was getting to Jim Kimmel. Hell, it's easy to understand why. Obviously, I don't know Jim Kimmel personally, but believe it or not, he wasn't always this bitter. He wasn't always this angry dude. When Jim Kimmel originally launched his late night show in the early 2000s, he was considered edgy. Jim Kimmel was controversial. He was the underdog. Jay Leno, David Letterman, they were the traditional late night host, while Jim Kimmel, he was kind of like the Howard Stern of late night TV. During the first few years of the show, they were allowing the studio audience to drink booze. The show was different. But over the years, Jim Kimmel changed. The change was subtle at first. It started slow. The show lost a little bit of its edge. Jim Kimmel started doing segments featuring bloopers from local news broadcasts. But eventually, the show became the flaming ass fire that it's known for today. Around 10 years ago, doctors at Woke Memorial Hospital, they diagnosed Jim Kimmel as being infected with the woke fungus. Instead of comedic bits, instead of showing bloopers from the local news in Knucklefuck, Kentucky, the entire show was dedicated to Ocean Bad. The reason it was so easy for me to believe the reports that Jim Kimmel was emotionally crumbling, besides the fact that he had lost his best friend, doing a show every night where it's constant negativity about one dude, doing a show every night where you're lying to your audience, doing a show every night where you are intentionally being divisive, dividing the country, it has got to be emotionally draining. People under the age of 30, they never knew the real Jim Kimmel. And maybe that's why Jim is emotionally drained. Maybe Jim Kimmel is tired of being someone that he's not. Of course, this new and improved Jim Kimmel, this enlightened Jim, this awakened Jim, this could be the real Jim Kimmel, which would also explain why he is always bitter. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.